Oh, hi! I didn't see you there. I'm Andrew from Limitless Park, and I've converted. You see, I used to idolize Mickey Mouse and all things Disney, but with a certain new Universal theme park on the horizon, I feel it would be better to denounce the company entirely, because we all know as theme park fans you can't like both Disney and Universal. Hey, God made the rules, not me.
In August 2019, Universal announced Epic Universe, a brand new theme park coming to Universal Orlando Resort. While the name might be kinda dumb, Universal's Epic Universe looks to be a cutting-edge theme park with tons of new experiences that can't be found elsewhere. Like, look, they got Mario. I mean, Kohl's can't say that about themselves. Construction began soon after the announcement and went pretty swiftly, despite all the global events and issues going on at the time. While Disney was picking their nose, Universal was building a giant dueling roller coaster. Oh, and holes! Flash forward to 2024, and we've officially gotten the names for every area in the park. We've got Super Nintendo World, Dark Universe, a How to Train Your Dragon area, another Harry Potter area, flippin' Celestial Park. It's safe to say that Epic Universe is shaping up to be an incredible experience and will be a contender for the best theme park in Florida and maybe even the world when it opens in 2025.
But just like my ex-wife, I'm not satisfied. I want more! Sure, these 5 areas will house a plethora of unique attractions once the park opens in 2025, but I can't help but wonder, after that, what's next for Epic Universe?
I did some searching on the internet and found this cool map where the first 5 areas of Epic Universe will be and where there's room for expansion. As you can see, there's areas for expansion in all the known lands, even if the How to Train Your Dragon and Wizarding World ones are pretty tiny, and an entire area that could be used for a new expansion not tied to the previous lands is there. Now, I have no idea how accurate this is and if those big Nintendo and Dark Universe expansions will actually be Nintendo and Dark Universe, but for the sake of this video, let's just say they are, cause your boy really wants to go see, I don't know, Ice Climber World or something.
Oh, and in case you couldn't already tell, these ideas for expansion are what I'd like to call my opinion. Now, I've heard that sharing an opinion on the internet can get you harmed, so please be gentle. I don't want to end up like the last time I shared an opinion. I just said I liked food!
So, the expansion areas in Ministry of Magic and How to Train Your Dragon are small enough to not house sublands, but instead probably a ride or two. And maybe a dining experience or something, I don't know.
Now, I've seen all the Harry Potter and How to Train Your Dragon movies, but I wouldn't call myself a super fan. I've taken the Harry Potter quiz, and I guess I'm a Hufflepuff, but that really means nothing to me, and I'm not exactly frothing at the mouth for Toothless. Yet. So I wouldn't say I'm the most qualified to say what themes the attractions in each of these expansions should be. Now, what I am qualified for is to scream about how I think each of the expansions should get roller coasters.
Sure, Epic Universe will open with 4 roller coasters, and one of them is in the How to Train Your Dragon area, but what's 2 more? Obviously, we're quite limited on space, so I'm thinking these will either have to be family coasters or ones with really compact layouts. For the Harry Potter one, I'd like to see Universal work with Rocky Mountain Construction to install one of their new family-friendly Wild Moose coasters. These things are perfect for a small footprint and would coincide well with the more family themes in Harry Potter. Now, How to Train Your Dragon is also pretty family-friendly, being a children's animated movie franchise and all, but they already have one tamer thrill coaster available. So what if we go in the other direction?
Like the Euthanasia coaster!
Or the park could work out a 2-for-1 deal with Rocky Mountain Construction in order to get their hands on an RMC Raptor. It could be a custom layout that is compact enough for the space, but also feature larger, longer trains for capacity reasons.
I think the single-file train would work perfectly for pretending that you're actually flying on a dragon, and if one of those dragons was themed to Toothless, okay, maybe I'll start frothing at the mouth for him.
Okay, so next let's go with the Super Nintendo World expansion. Now, I'm what some might call, how do I put this delicately, a giant Nintendo nerd. So it's safe to say that there's a lot of options I'd like to see here. Now, Super Nintendo World is practically just a Mario World at this point. Now, it does have some Donkey Kong and Yoshi representation, which are technically other franchises, but you're not going to convince me that this is so different from this.
Other than that, Universal Japan's Super Nintendo World has a tiny statue of Pikmin, but that's about it. I guess because of how tiny Pikmin are, though, you could technically classify that as its own land. Huh.
Anyways, there's 2 areas for expansion of Super Nintendo World, one that's larger and one that's smaller. Let's start with the smaller one first because I don't want to get too overwhelmed and sweaty. Now, I know a lot of people want an area based on The Legend of Zelda, but I'm not personally a fan of the Zelda franchise. I played about an hour of the first game and I got stressed out. I played an hour of Ocarina of Time and I got bored. I played an hour of Breath of the Wild and I got stressed and bored. I tried Skyward Sword and my arms got sore. I've tried playing some of the Link's Awakening game on Nintendo Switch and it's cute, cute, but I don't know, I can barely find my way around these maps. I'll just stick to looking at my Six Flags maps instead.
Oh shit, they got chopsticks in this thing?
So yeah, they can put Zelda in this thing, but I'm not gonna be happy about it, because I want Star Fox, damn it!
Now for all the non-Nintendo playing theme park nerds out there, if you're thinking to yourself, what the hell is a Star Fox? Well, congratulations, you haven't been disappointed yet.
Star Fox is basically an older Nintendo series that's been pretty neglected in recent years. Pretty much the only game worth a damn is Star Fox 64 on the Nintendo 64, and even then it was pretty dated. But man, I can't help but love this game, and I think a small area and ride in Universal could maybe revitalize the franchise and give Universal a sci-fi space property to compete with Disney Star Wars. In the game, you play as space mercenaries called Star Fox trying to save the galaxy from an evil emperor named Andros. You fly around in these spaceships called R-Wings, and I think this could be a great premise for a space-themed simulator ride. Now, I know Universal has been heavily criticized for its abundance of simulator and screen-based rides, and that's fair, but if they did something more along the lines of Avatar Flight of Passage at Animal Kingdom, or Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run at Disney's Hollywood Studios, where it feels more like a singular experience, then maybe that would feel more unique, like you're actually piloting an R-Wing.
God, what I would give to be a Star Fox. Now, I suppose you could go with Metroid and do the exact same thing, and honestly, it would probably be a way more recognizable and monetizable franchise than Star Fox at this point, but man, they don't tell me to do a barrel roll in Metroid.
Do a barrel roll! So that's my little slice of heaven, but what about the larger expansion plot? Now, if we look at this picture, it does seem that this is laid out for a portal of its own instead of just a simple connection to Super Nintendo World, but what if it could still be a Nintendo property?
Well, we should probably give the fans what they want and do a Hyrule Kingdom Legend of Zelda land.
Pokemon is widely considered to be the highest grossing media franchise on the planet. Yeah, move over, Mickey Mouse, it's time for Yellow Rat. Universal would be stupid not to do a Pokemon area as long as they could get the rights to it. Unlike most Nintendo franchises, Pokemon is owned by a couple other companies, so there's a lot more fingers in that pudding.
Ah, damn it.
But I doubt it would be that hard to do it. As for the other attractions, I'd like to see two main ones here. We already have enough roller coasters, and I'm sure that the dark rides at Epic Universe will be phenomenal. So what if we went in a different, more experimental route?
That's right, I'm talking about playing my Nintendo DS while drinking a whole lot of liquor.
Just kidding. But you know how Pokemon's primarily about catching and battling different creatures? Well, what if Universal created an interactive walkthrough experience that lets you get as close to doing that as possible? I'm not exactly sure how they pull it off, but if anyone could do it, it's gotta be the guys who created Minion Blast, right?
Why aren't you shaking your head in agreement?
Just imagine, an awesome blend of screen-based effects and physical set pieces, and maybe an actual Pokeball that you could hold throughout the walkthrough to create the illusion that you yourself are actually catching Pokemon. They could even bill it as the longest walkthrough attraction if it was big enough. That sounds like the stuff dreams were made of. Or they could just do a Pokemon Snap ride, I don't know.
Yeah, so my other idea is that we do a ride based on the lesser-known Pokemon sub-series, Pokemon Snap. You don't really need to know much about this to get it, other than it's a game where you take pictures of Pokemon. It's less fun than actually catching them, but it still has its charm, which is why I've played less than an hour of each of these games.
Also, in the game you are literally riding in a vehicle on a track, so this could be perfectly emulated in a dark ride setting. Just make it an attraction similar to Buzz Lightyear or Men in Black, except instead of laser guns to shoot things, you have your own cameras to take pictures. Depending on the Pokemon you capture and what it's doing, you could get awarded different points and then compare with others on the ride to see who did the best. It would be a great interactive experience for kids, adults, really anyone who gets the concept of taking a picture. I mean, you give Grandpa a ride with a laser gun and he'll give you a puzzled look. You give him a camera and yeah, he knows what that's about. So yeah, either a super in-depth walkthrough attraction, a dark ride shooter, or both if we're lucky.
Or it could be a land filled to the brim with stores selling Pokemon merchandise because that's basically all the franchise is good at anymore. I mean, I know I'll still like it. So that's all that I'm going to talk about with Nintendo. Sorry, Zelda fans. But let's move on to the largest expansion pad. Now, all the properties in Epic Universe are admittedly pretty different, but they do have the theme of family-friendly fun in common. So what other franchises does Universal own that get the concept of family and can be turned into a land? Family.
Fast and the Furious is quite possibly my favorite film franchise of all time. Now, most people close to me might assume it's Star Wars or Marvel, but they don't have ludicrous. Universal already has a Fast and the Furious ride at Universal Studios Florida, but that ride is hot garbage, so giving Epic Universe its own Fast and the Furious land would mean we could tear down that old ride and forget its crimes against society. Now the tricky part is, once the next Fast and the Furious movie comes out in 2025, it's said that the franchise will end. But come on, do you really believe they wouldn't make any more spin-off movies and TV shows? Have you seen Hobbs and Shaw?
I haven't, because I'm waiting until they announce a sequel to watch it.
I honestly think they could even tie the ending of the franchise into the land. Let's say the family finally retires from their fun, sports car-filled heists and decides to set up a permanent base near Los Angeles that houses tons of streetcar races. This would be fantastic for entertainment and the streetmosphere in the land. As for rides, the easy choice would be to take the upcoming Fast and the Furious Hollywood Drift attraction at Universal Studios Hollywood and create a clone or similar attraction using the same ride system. I'm not against that as a secondary coaster option in the land, but for the main attraction, I want a full-scale slot car ride in the same vein as Test Track at Epcot or Radiator Springs Racers at Disney's California Adventure. I think it would function more like the latter, as that sees riders going through several dark ride scenes before exiting to an outdoor section where you could race against other riders in a different car.
Maybe Universal could take this concept a step further and do 3, hell, even 4 different vehicles racing against each other, and they could make their own vehicle creation software similar to Test Track, except instead of making cars that look like abominations, they could make them actually look cool.
So we have a Hollywood Drift type roller coaster, a massive dueling slot car ride, and well, I guess if they really wanted, they could move Fast and the Furious Supercharged from the Studios park over to Epic Universe to add capacity there, just as long as it gets rid of that giant building and makes way for something much better at that park.
So that's what I want to see in a Fast and the Furious land, and with that, pretty much Epic Universe as a whole. So I think we're done here. Oh my god. I forgot about the Dark Universe land. Okay. Let's see. Oh wait, I got it!
We should take
Revenge of the Mummy
and push it
to Epic Universe.
I'm kidding, but it is kind of hard for me to come up with how I'd like to see the land expand. The land is using classic Universal monsters, and while we know some of the monsters that will be in the land, like Frankenstein and werewolves, we really don't know what won't be in the land. But what if instead of using classic monsters, we used modern monsters?
The expansion pad of Dark Universe is at the back of the land, meaning you have to move through the classic monsters area to get to it. What if, as you moved through, things would begin to evolve from retro horror into modern horror? It would almost be like a permanent Universal Horror Nights area, similar to the new Scream Park they're building in Las Vegas.
I don't think the scariest of properties would work here, considering it's a small area in what is generally a very family-friendly theme park, but I do think that there are a few properties that I would consider to be horror light that I think would work really well here. Blumhouse Productions is the name of the game, and while don't get me wrong, they have created quite a few movies that have taken my pants and put so-called piss in them, they also have some PG-13 horror movies that would work really well here, one of them being... Yeah, I hate myself for this one too.
The Five Nights at Freddy's movie that came out in 2023 was a commercial success. While it didn't light critics or my world on fire, it definitely pleased fans of the franchise. I think a dark ride and pizza restaurant experience combo that captures the essence of scary killer animatronics would really work well here, especially since Five Nights at Freddy's is in the entertainment industry and, well, so is Universal.
Plus, if the Five Nights at Freddy's stuff is located on the side of the expansion closest to the Super Nintendo World expansion, then that would make it easier for them to potentially create pathways between the lands in the future. Because video game? Video game!
As for other Blumhouse IPs that wouldn't completely ruin a child's day if they saw it...
Did anybody else know that 2010's Tooth Fairy starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was a Blumhouse film?
But we can't use that, so how about the Insidious movies? I've never seen them, but there's enough of them to where I consider the franchise a successful one. And they're PG-13, so who cares that I scream every time I see this picture? It's fine for kids.
There's also the Happy Death Day movies that were pretty great. Megan was pretty successful, and it already has a sequel in the works. There's the Ouija movies, I guess. Or what the hell, they could just go full-on R-rated and make an immersive Purge experience. It would probably be more successful than Disney's Galactic Star Cruiser immersive experience, after all. So I think that officially covers what I'd like to see in every Epic Universe expansion. Of course, if I really wanted to, I could probably go on and on listing different Universal properties that I'd like to see turned into different lands or attractions. I mean, just because I didn't mention a 50 Shades of Grey land doesn't mean I wasn't thinking it. But I think we'll leave it there for now. If you have a property that I didn't mention that you'd like to see turned into a land at Epic Universe, feel free to let me know. In the meantime, I think all that's left to do is wait until Epic Universe opens and then they announce an expansion. Then I can see what kind of predictions I got right. God damn it.